I love them so much that I had to get them tattooed on me permanently because I love them.
Nice.
Let me try to get all my feelings. So one of the reasons that I was first attracted to Bulma and Vegeta as a couple was less about what I saw and more about what I didn't see. I think like everyone else, you're like, how the hell did they get together? How? Please explain like how this ruthless killer, because they just immediately go from Vegeta touching down and next thing you know, Bulma has a baby. It's Vegeta's and he's gone in space. So you're like, what happened? But even before that, like how Linux was pointing out, like how he could have killed her on Namek, there were subtle parts where you could see that there was some interest forming. If you take it back to when they first got, forget the ocean dub of you and that hot girl when they're on Namek, but canon, when Vegeta comes back, this is someone who we've seen so far, is ruthless, doesn't like back talk, right? Nappa could never say what Bulma has said to him when they get down and they touch down back on Earth, where she's like, hey, homeboy, why don't you come stay with me and don't even, think about touching me. If anyone else had said that to Vegeta,
homeboy,
yeah,
I remember that.
Homeboy, yeah. Vegeta would have had a lot of issues, but for some reason with Bulma, he lets it slide. And I think it's because Vegeta starts to respect Bulma immediately. Like he says in Super, Saiyans are attracted to a woman who has a lot of, chutzpah, a lot of spunk, and a lot of feistiness. So here's this woman who's clearly hanging out with Saiyans. She's on Namek. She's dealt with Frieza. She's in One Piece. She's not crying on the ground like, oh my God, I just had to fight Frieza. It was terrible. She's having a good time. She's still showing out this banter that's really flirtatious. And then he finds out on top of all of this, she's smart. And not just kind of smart, but she's rich because she's smart, because of her family smarts. This is someone who was with the Galactic Patrol. So he's seen the best of the best. Frieza's not hiring, just your run-of-the-mill scientists. These are really highly educated, respected scientists who are also really awful people. So on planet Earth, Bulma's the equivalent of who Frieza would get to work on his ship. Bulma is someone who probably the Saiyans would say, yeah, come help us out. Come help build things. So Bulma, in a lot of ways, is exactly what Vegeta would respect just on paper. And Bulma looks good. So their dynamic makes a lot more sense than Yamcha and Bulma. If you remember back in early Dragon Ball when Puar did not like Bulma, when he was telling Yamcha, I don't know why you're dating her. She's crazy. She's feisty. But Vegeta can match that. And then if you add into I'm going to think a lot of fan fiction here because a lot of us were fascinated about what happened during, that they got together. Trunks says that they got together out of loneliness, right? So you have Bulma, who's now all her friends are off training for Cell. Yamcha's not around as much. When he was around, he probably wasn't as emotionally involved because he's Yamcha and wants to be flirtatious. And then you have Vegeta, doesn't like anyone here, doesn't really trust anyone here. He's staying in her house. Probably the only person that he does respect is Bulma. They talk a little bit more. They get together a little bit more. Probably Bulma starts to show Vegeta, okay, maybe around this one Earthling, I can kind of let it down until, the hanky-panky happens, and here you go, Trunks. But at this point, Vegeta isn't ready to be a family man. He's not ready to be that. He's still held on to, like, this anger of Goku and wanting to surpass that. So, of course, he's not going to be all willy-nilly like, yeah, that's right, I'll be a family man now. It's like you said during the 7-year itch where he says, I'm not going to fight anymore. He has no choice but to be around his family. He's not awful. He's not a person who does not experience some sort of familiar love because King Vegeta clearly loved his son, in the way that Saiyans love their sons. So he knows, he has good examples of what it means to be a good parent, So I think that time where they could really build together and become this family man so you can get to the point where I think the subtle cue of if you take it to where he's being controlled by a Babidi and they're at the tournament, when Vegeta kills all those people, the person who's most surprised is Bulma. We as the audience aren't surprised because we're like, oh, well, we knew that Vegeta's a douche. But Bulma is like, oh my God, how can he do that? How else would someone have that reaction unless you've seen someone change or you've seen someone become like better over time and become this person that's completely different than the Saiyan saga. And like you said, Lennox, I don't think that their story is done. I do love what Super did for them, those really small moments. Even something very subtle is if you take whose birthday party was it? I can't remember, where they had Beerus trying to pretend he was what's the nipple guy's name? Monaka?
Monaka.
Yeah, Monaka. When during that
Wasn't it Marin's? Was it Marin's or Brawl's?
It was someone's birthday, but there's this small scene that's really poorly drawn where Vegeta is like protecting Bulma. He has her about the middle and he's kind of like holding her away. Little small things like that makes you realize that he's really attached to Bulma. He's not just Trunks. She doesn't just become like, oh, the mother of my child. She's probably his best friend. She's probably, you know, the person that he respects the most on this planet. She's, once again, she's Bulma. She looks good, you know? Like, and even in the Broly movie, I love when she's saying, oh, I want to be 5 years younger. And Vegeta makes this face like, you look fine the way you are, you know? Those little things like that, that's why they're my favorite couple, because the characterization and the character development for Vegeta, everything actually can be attributed to his family. It's not because of Krillin. It's not because of Goku. The only factors why Vegeta became a better person over time was Bulma and Trunks. They get all the credit, in my opinion. Because,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, that's fantastic. The two people, this girl with a nasty attitude that couldn't make it happen with Yamcha, that we've seen, you know, constantly butting heads, changed the biggest villain that we've seen, aside from like Frieza and Cell, like one of the biggest villains that we've seen so far. She changed him just by having his baby and being around and probably not taking his bull crap. That's what, and he listens to her. Anyone else can't say the things that Bulma says to Vegeta, even in Super, when he's late to her birthday party and she screams at him on the phone. What's he do? He goes to her birthday party. Yeah, he's like, whatever. He tells Goku at some point, don't even try to argue with Bulma. She's just going to do what she wants. Vegeta, the same dude who, like, when Nappa tried to say something, he's like, are you saying something to me? This 6-foot-tall guy with muscle gave Vegeta an attitude, and Vegeta was getting ready to obliterate him, but Bulma's screaming at him. He's like, guess I'll go satisfy my wife. No big deal. I just can't. I have nothing but good things to say about them. I think, honestly, out of any anime I've seen, they're the most interesting couple because there's not a lot shown. So you're just kind of left with these puzzle pieces to put together or Easter eggs. If you play like Xenoverse and all the even fighters, they have those moments where you get those little Easter eggs. I think that they're intriguing because you don't see it. And then when you do see it, it just confirms what you thought was happening in the first place. So I love them.
That was beautiful. That whole thing, that was just beautiful.
Very well done.
Every word.
I'll add on to, I do think Goku had a huge help in developing Vegeta as well, because everybody called him jerks. Goku was always the one person that never let Vegeta really get under his skin. I think Vegeta, Bulma, those two really saw the best. And you had Trunks. They all three saw the absolute best in Vegeta. And